All right, we are getting ready to start with clay. So you'll want to get your clay. If you have a design that you have not cut out yet, then you might want to go grab some scissors and cut out your design so that it's ready to go. Whatever tools you need, you'll want to go ahead and grab whatever tools you've got lying around and get ready because we are starting with clay. Hello all Art 1 students. So today is the day we are getting clay. Those of you that got yours from the school and you are currently at home making yours, you will get to take it out of the bag today. I'm going to show you how in just a moment. Now, my people who are at home, you are using the clay that is, it looks like tan or gray right now, but it'll be white once it's fired. My students who are at school, you are going to be using the clay that we call the red clay. Right now it looks brown, but after it's fired, it looks kind of reddish. And so I am going to be working with both of these. Just know that you're like, that's why. Okay, so let's start with this piece of clay. We are about to take it out of the bag. When we do, it's very important that you don't accidentally rip the whole thing. I have had students before having issues where they can't get it out of the bag, so they're like clawing at it and trying to peel it out of the bag, and then they're handing me this giant handful of clay going, mine's not flat anymore, because they've destroyed it. Now, when you are working with this clay, it is important that you never, ever, 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 are you listening? Never smash everything up into a ball. That's a great way to ruin your clay and make it so that it's really difficult to work with, and also have problems where you will end up smashing it all up and making little air pockets in all of the pieces of clay, and then we can't fire it in the kiln. So when you are ready to take your clay out of the bag, the first thing you need to do is open it up and then start to peel the bag off of the clay. It wants to stick to the clay because the clay is sticky. That's a good thing. So peel the bag off of the clay, slowly but surely. Okay, there we go. So now my piece of clay is fully peeled off from the top edge, but the bottom of it is still stuck on there. So this is what you're gonna do. Open your hand up big, put it in the bag, set it down on your clay, flip the whole thing over. And now you do the same thing again. Peel the bag off of the clay. Peel the bag off of the clay. It will never be this hard to take it out of your bag again. The first time you take it out of the bag is really when it is the most difficult. Now, if you are working with the quart size bag, that's the size bag that I have, it's kind of a small bag, you want to make sure that you get the whole thing unattached from your bag, and then very carefully you're going to pull it out of the bag. Try not to scrape your clay along the seal of your bag, or your bag won't zipper anymore. All right, now while we're working on your clay, you want to pick a side that's going to become your messy side. And I would suggest that you just go ahead and make it the name side, and then put your clay on there, because this is now going to be the surface where you're always working on your clay project. All right. Our clay is on here. Some important things. Are you listening? Are you listening? Are you listening? Your clay needs to not get too thin. If it gets too thin, it's going to break very easily. Look at your pinky. Everything you make shouldn't be thinner than your pinky, okay? It's a great measuring tool. Look at your thumb. Nothing should be thicker than your thumb. So your fingers are a great measuring tool for figuring out the thickness of your clay. So if you take this slab of clay and you think to yourself, I want to make it bigger, and so you start smashing it to make it bigger, that's also going to make it really, really thin, and it will break super easily. So don't smash it until it's super duper thin, or it will break once it is dry. Another thing to keep in mind is that everything that you do with the clay, you have to make sure that you put pieces together the right way. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. And then the other thing that you need to make sure is that you are not taking something huge and smashing it on top there. Nothing that's thicker than your thumb, okay? So today we're just going to do the beginning steps, and we're going to talk about the clay. I want you to feel it and see how flexible it is, how it does make your hands messy. I want you to get familiar with the idea that everything that you do, every time you pinch it or squish it or pull it, it's going to react. Clay does whatever you tell it to do. And so if you don't want it to do something, don't tell it to do that. It'll only do what you tell it to do. Whatever your design was for your tile, you're going to want to go get that. If you had a really complicated shape, then you'll definitely want to cut out your complicated shape so that you can use it as a stencil. If your shape is pretty simple, like a square, like this guy right here, then that shouldn't be too much of a problem. You could probably do it without cutting it out, but if you would like to cut it out, you can, and then you can lay it on top of your clay. Just set it gently on top, okay? You don't need to smash it into the clay, never ever. Now, tools. A plastic fork is an excellent tool. We will be using that a lot. Another really useful tool is a credit card. This used to be a Walmart gift card, and it's probably from like 5 years ago, and I cut it like a little zigzag here, and I made my own tool out of this card. And so you can do stuff with the flat edges, you can do stuff with the corners, and you can do stuff with the scratchy parts. Another great tool is I have a skewer. I know a couple of my students at home the other day had skewers, which is awesome. If you don't have a skewer, you could also use a pencil. Now this pencil, I can get it real sharp, and it will do the same thing as this skewer, and it will work really well. But your pencil is going to get really dirty. You could wait till you're done with your project and then just clean off your pencil, and then it'll be fine. But just know that it's going to be messy for your pencil. So these are the 3 tools that I'm going to use for pretty much everything. Whatever you've got at home that you could draw into clay with, that's what we're going to do first. When we cut out your shape, if you dig down way deep into the clay and then you just like stab it to death and you cut like that, you might cut your Ziploc. So don't feel like you need to just destroy it and kill it. Right now, all I'm gonna do is really carefully, not pressing very hard at all. Like I'm barely even holding it. I'm holding it way far at the back. I'm gonna trace my tile shape, okay? There's my tile shape. I'm gonna wanna keep this because it's got all my designs on there. Can you see that? It doesn't have to be like I dug down deep in there. So now I've got my line here. And this is the part where you wanna make sure that you try not to kill these pieces because you need these extra pieces. But I'm gonna use this skewer tool, or you could use a pencil. Honestly, you could probably use the fork too. And whatever you've got, you could try experimenting with different things. Then you're going to push down into the clay and start dragging your tool along your line. Don't push your tool. What I mean by that is the end of your tool shouldn't be going face first through your clay. It should be going backwards like this. Okay? Super carefully. You don't have to press super duper hard. I'm actually going to end it right here so that I can show you. All this right here, you want to keep it nice. Don't smash it, okay? Let me keep going. Alright, once it's cut out, all your extra, like I just said, keep it, don't destroy it. You could break it up into separate pieces, but these extra pieces are going to become all of your cool textures that you're going to add. So be nice to them. Awesome. So there are my extra pieces. Here is my tile. So now the next thing you might want to do is go along with your finger and kind of smooth out the edge. Nothing that I am doing, I am pressing super hard. I'm being really gentle with everything that I'm doing here. If you are pressing too hard, like I said earlier, you might slice through your bag, which is no good. You also might squish your clay flat. If your clay is sitting on the table right now, you may have a problem, which is that it is now stuck to your table. And so if that is happening, then you're gonna have to be super duper careful to try to peel it up. But the cool thing about putting it on your bag is that you pick up the corner of your bag and then you peel it off like a sticker. Y'all know sometimes you can't get the sticker off the page, but if you bend the corner of the page, just like that, is super duper easy, okay? Other things to be thinking about. We're about to draw our design into the clay, but you don't want to cut the clay when you do that. So when you do draw these designs, we're going to draw the designs in a way that it's just a design that's lightly put into the surface of your clay. So here we've got this, and I'm going to draw my designs into my clay. Drawing designs, drawing designs. Once you've drawn your designs really lightly, that's pretty much all we're going to do for today. Tomorrow I'll have more information about the next things that you should do. Alright, now at this point I've got my designs drawn into the surface. Don't press so hard that you slice through the clay this time. This is just a guideline so that you know where to put all of your textures once you start making them and attaching them to the surface. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about attaching clay to the surface. There is a certain technique you need to use. Whatever tools you've got you can use for smoothing out and carving and helping you to build little pieces and stuff like that. These are the only three I'm going to use for this whole assignment. Now when you're ready to put your clay back into your bag, remember you want to keep your extra pieces. The longer it sits out, the more it's going to dry. If you touch it a whole lot, touch all the pieces, they're going to dry. The drier it gets, the more difficult it is to work with the clay. The tinier the little pieces are, the faster they're going to dry out. So while you're working with clay, it might be a good idea to have a little bit of water next to you. In tomorrow's video, I'm going to talk to you about things you can do with the water to help you out. For now, I'm going to show you how you should make sure that you peel your clay off like a sticker. Don't grab it and try to pick it up like this, or you might end up with big old fingerprints stuck into the side like that. Definitely pick up the bag first, peel it off, so you can see that this one's ready to go. Open your bag up. Set your clay in. And then your extra pieces also need to go in here. Your bag needs to be sealed completely. You don't need to smash it so that you get all the air out, because you don't want to squish the clay onto the bag any more than it's already going to want to stick to the bag. So I've set my pieces in there and then close it shut. If your bag zipper is full of clay, which might happen by the end, especially with this small bag, then you may need to fold it over and clip it, or if you have another bag around somewhere, then you could put your clay into a new bag. The gallon size, they tend to be better at not getting all clogged up with clay just because you have more space, more room to move around in your bag. Tiny little bits like that, if they're all dried up and crunchy, we really can't do a whole lot with them. And so those little crumbs will end up in the trash. Tomorrow we're going to talk about attaching your pieces and making your textures. So hopefully today you were able to cut it out, draw your designs on, and then successfully get it back into the bag.